Saturday. Hopefully, everybody's off to a great start to your weekend.
Yep, absolutely. Because I know you're having great weeks because you're planning on having great weeks. That is the key.
Exactly. And that actually leads into today's little short talk about we're in a good groove right now. We're pushing it. We're either doing races or we're pushing to get ready for that race, and we overtrain. So we don't want to do that.
Yeah, we all hear about this, and I have done this so many times, and honestly, I've just been really lucky and have not had anything detrimental happen. But saw the signs, and but was so in that frame that I'm like, I'm just gonna do it. This is what I set out to do. I'm gonna do it without really being able to step back and look at the bigger picture. And that's what I've been sharing with you a lot is looking at health as a bigger picture, not being so hard lined about I have this on the schedule, I have that on the schedule, and I don't want to take it out of context, meaning that it's just blow off workouts. But as runners, we have that thing of like, if I can do this, I can do that. I can do, and that's how when I first started running, I was running with my dog, and then people are like, oh, well, if you can run that, you can do this. Once I did that, well, when are you gonna? Once I did a race, then they're like, well, when are you doing your marathon? Well, then when you're doing your ultra? Well, then when are you gonna do? And you get caught up in this like crazy cycle that leads to over injury or overtraining, which ultimately usually leads to, if you don't put on the brakes, getting injured.
Yep. Which again, as we get older, we are all trying to avoid. That's why we've been doing strength training this winter, and injuries are still going to come up, right? Like, as a good example, we had family here, as we shared. We were out in the water having fun, and I had a slight injury now because just being in the water with on this tube kind of came off. But I recognize if I hadn't been strength training, it would have been a lot worse. Now I've been set back for about 10 days, but the point is we're using the signs to listen to our bodies, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But we want to try to avoid that, especially as we get older, because we don't want to be sidelined.
Yeah, but there's key signs, and they talk, all the studies they do, are about professional athletes. They always study those, and they have a high propensity for this. But they have coaches, they have people, they have off seasons, they have all of this. But what they're finding out now is, overtraining is just your body's, your training exceeds your body's ability to recover from it. And that's basically what it is in a nutshell. So they have that a lot. They have a lot of injuries. They have all these things, but they are doing all this, and that is their job.
Yeah, they're getting paid for it. We are not, right? We are the recreational, I don't want to call us weekend warriors because we're trying to run as much as we can.
Yeah, we're recreational runners, and we are wanting to, we should be athletes. We should have that well-rounded thing. We talk about that. That's the mindset of like working all different muscles and cross training and doing all those other things that you need to do. But it's also realizing that we are doing all this, but our lifestyle 100% influences how our overtraining and how we train. But we kind of miss that. We just think we can do all of this and make it happen because we want to, and then our bodies are absolutely amazing, and it will push and it will take it until it breaks.
Exactly. So that's why today we're going to talk about signs you're overtraining, because we want to try to avoid those signs so we can stay injury resilient. So again, each and every week, just stuff that we research, that we're experiencing, we're sharing with you guys. Do your own research, but understand that you can overcome anything, right? That is why we have this group, for the support. We want to encourage you guys to keep posting pictures. You've done a great job of that. We thank you guys for that.
Really, we want to commend you, and I hope you guys are commending yourself. Running is hard. Running is hard at any age. And we're master runners, some of us senior master runners, that are still making this happen. And you really have to, we want to applaud you. We want you to show your pictures and all that, but recognize the fact that you guys are doing amazing, amazing things.
And just ask yourself this: when you see a fellow member post some pictures, doesn't that motivate you? Doesn't that make you feel good? Doesn't it make you feel good for them? So that hopefully will motivate you to post those pictures. I know it does us, and that's why we're doing
whatever
it.
Whatever you feel obviously comfortable.
Exactly.
Comfortable with.
So again, that's where we're at. And then today we're going to talk about, again, the keys to overtraining so you don't look like this at the end of a race. We don't want to have that, right?
Or your workout should not be looking like that either.
Exactly.
You know, there is no need for the hands on the knees. Bring your body to that point. There's just not.
Yeah. So last week, as a quick recap, we talked about some different leg exercises that we're doing now that we're at a different location. We've got a small gym here. They got enough stuff to get done. There's no excuses, right? So leg presses, single leg press, the Bulgarian split squats, which she's now turning into be my new favorite.
It is one of those things. You don't need a lot of weight, and it's always hard. It's always hard.
And I've been doing that this week, and it's like, wow, you realize quickly what muscles have been atrophied a little bit.
Yeah.
And then obviously the Romanian deadlifts and then the hip thrusts. So those are all, if you just do those, you'd be surprised.
Honestly, those are the key compound ones that are great for runners that you can increase. You need to be progressing your workouts and your lifting and all that. If you want to get better adaptations, you have to progress them. These are things that you can safely progress with weights, and that will have a huge benefit for your running.
So today, what are the signs?
There's lots of them.
That you're overtraining.
There's lots of them. Now, increased muscle soreness. Now you're like, of course, if I do a hard workout, I'm going to be sore a little bit. But if you've been consistently running and all that, and your legs are feeling heavy every time you run, or you're feeling sore all the time, that's not how it's supposed to be. So that's one of the big signs of legs feeling heavy on multiple days, and while you're training, that's one of the biggest signs. Fatigue. You're like, well, I run. Of course, I'm tired after a lot of these things runners normally have after workouts, but we're talking chronic fatigue, like during the middle of the day, after your runs. Remember, 80% of your running needs to be easy. So you should not be like in the middle of the afternoon, I have to lay down. That's the first sign is that decreased energy, that chronic. It's happening more often, not just one day or 2 days, but week after week. You're like, God, I'm just really not feeling great.
Right, but again, that might actually lead to some other medical conditions. This is why we want to encourage you to check with your doctor at that point. Mm-hmm. But those are the signs, right? So again, as you're running, as you're training, as you're working out, going to the gym, you should be getting stronger. Yes, you're going to have days where you're a little bit sore, but like Patty just said, you should not have this day after day after day, because if there's something else going on.
You need to adjust that, but increase your resting heart rate. Your body has one of the biggest signals it has is your heart rate, your blood pressure. We have watches now that say, what your resting heart rate. Are they 100% accurate? No, but they're pretty close. And if you start seeing signs where mine is normally, my heart rate's really low. Mine's usually in the 40s. If consistently it started being my resting heart rate in the 50s or higher than that, then I would know something. That'd be a huge red flag for me, because that's consistently. These watches give us kind of a baseline of, if it's always around this range, then that's what you're, what it should be. So almost every single one of you, has one of these that does the heart rate. So that's another big sign that does it. But a lot of times we have, are you going to have a bad run? Sure. I talked about that the other day. But if you're consistently having, like, they're getting worse, they're getting harder, you're not getting better, you're decreasing week after week, you're trying to do your speed workouts and you're just like tanking. Your long runs that are supposed to be easy are not feeling easy. When collectively your easy runs are never feeling easy, that's another thing. Your body is saying, hey, something's going on here.
Yep, exactly. So you just got to listen. It's common sense, but at the same time, we just tend to ignore this because as runners, we say, got to push through it, got to keep going. And then your performance is going to start to decrease, which is what ultimately we don't want. But again, if you see this kind of pattern of it going down, mm-hmm. that's when you just have to kind of go, wait a second, something's not right here, right? Yeah.
But there's a lot of other things, like your mood. If you're more irritable, you're like, well, she's kind of always irritable. But we know, no. when things are off, and people will start to kind of let you know. But I don't realize, like, changing an appetite, and that could be either being really hungry or not being hungry at all. Those are signs your body is something's going on. Sleep is a huge part of it.
Back to the changing of
Disruption.
mood thing. So last fall when she was training and she was trying to get faster and she was pushing, her mood was definitely being impacted by that. And then she recognized it, to her credit.
Yeah, I've had multiple times where I've had to put on the brakes. Before I didn't, until it really got bad. But last year I 100%, had this. But it will affect your sleep.
Yeah.
It will increase if you're getting colds, especially respiratory problems. That's another big thing. That something your body is not keeping up, and it pressures your immune system. So, and that overall dreading, that's where I hit at the end of my tune-up race for Orlando. I didn't hit what I wanted. It was hotter. But after that, I was going to do the marathon in December. And when I looked at my training schedule, what I was going to be doing, I was like, I don't want to do this. When you get to that point where your workouts are like, oh, do you have that every once in a while? Sure. Every consistently, week after week, if you're having that, that's your body saying, hey, you need a mental break, you need a physical break, you need some kind of break, and that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. But again, you just need that support as well, right? So these are some simple things. You guys already know this. We're just trying to give you some reminders basically of this. The big things are the, change in appetite, especially the sleep and the sickness, especially, we're in summertime now. So ideally you should not be getting sick. So you're getting plenty of sunlight, you're being active, you're doing all those things. And so you really shouldn't. I mean, you might from the odd occasion, unless there's something else going on. But at the same time, all things considered, you should not be.
Yeah, it should be on your radar to be kind of looking out for.
Exactly. So what do you do if you're seeing those signs, right? So watch for early signs.
The key is having it be on your radar. That's why we talk about these things. These things sound obvious and all that. And yeah, we kind of know that. But a lot of times, unless it actually happens, we don't do anything about it. So,
and we're all guilty. We are both guilty of this. So absolutely. Because we're like, it's not a big deal. I'll just keep going. And yet at the same time, when we do take those little bit of time off, whether it's 2 weeks, whether it's a couple of days, we feel better because ideally we get a good night's sleep and our bodies recover, right? Because that's the proper thing here is if you let your body recover, as we talk time and time again, you're going to be stronger. You're going to allow your body to re-energize itself, right?
Yeah, there's key things is I talk about the warm-ups and the cool downs. You can't be, I would literally drive 20 minutes, start running right away. The first couple of miles would be awful. And then at the end, I would always, like the last half mile, try to speed up just to get my time just a little bit faster. So I'd do that for the last, and then I'd stop, and then I'd get my car and drive back. Not what you should do.
Right, and we're all guilty of that. But now, as we're getting older, we've had a couple injuries. We're starting to go, wait a second, we don't want to do that.
If I just warm up, the first 2 miles won't suck. But you have to cool down your body, especially with running in the heat. I implore you, we talk about, you need to have more water. You need to have more of this, but know that is an added stress on your body, just the heat. So your easy run, even though it feels easy, you're keeping your heart rate where it's supposed to be, you're drinking your water, but that is an extra stress that your body is having to do to keep your body temperature down. That's why you're sweating. But that is something extra it has to do. So you have to factor that in as another stress level. Remember, overtraining is just you are not you. Well, people say that there's really no overtraining. There's only under recovering. So you are not recovering enough.
That's really the key is you're just not letting your body recover. So think about this. You're at work, you got family, you got all this other stress going on. It's time of year where you might have family parties or vacations or whatever. Mm-hmm. All this is added stress. And yet you say you got to keep with your training schedule and you push, right? Yeah. And that is when things are going to lead to your body not recovering.
So watching out for those training errors, that would be increasing, knowing that it's hot outside. So you're going to, or increasing your volume while you run on a different surface, and there's hills involved, or there's all these things that might be just because you're running when you're on vacation and it's a different spot, and it's that. Remember, training errors are the biggest thing of getting actual injuries. So being mindful of different stressors, which are going to affect your performance anyways, but it's also going to be part of leading to that overtraining syndrome, where it just puts you in that higher risk category for having things, things going wrong. So that is one of the things. You can't train hard and have a crazy stressful life.
Yeah, you can't. Again, your lifestyle is gonna impact your training. We all know this, right? And that we all psychologically, because we're runners, we have this this belief that, okay, well, if I'm underperforming, I got to train that much harder, and that's not always true. It's not always true. Again, recover, maybe slow down and reassess what's going on.
Yeah, and we are, as runners, we just literally, and then we do the same thing if things are going good. If we're like, oh man, I felt great doing that, I'm going to do more. It's not always more. It's not always, we always tend to want to go harder, do more, do this or whatever, because it's the nature of running. It's the nature of being that athlete, or being that, competing and doing races. And I got swept up into that. I literally, for like 7 years, I was a maniac about that and not seeing the bigger picture. And it's, like I said, knock on wood, nothing happened, but it's not the way to do it.
Yeah.
And exactly. I know you could be like, well, you're running every day for over 2 years. What are you talking about? I get that in a lot of instances that would look like overtraining. And last year it got to the point where it did. At my half marathon point, my body was like, no, I can't. Mentally is what really stopped me. And I kept my run streak going, but I'm like, I need to take a break from training like that. So
because she was just pushing too hard. Now she still has the run streak going. She'll do a mile some days, and that's okay, because that's easy to do. Some days, not every day.
No, I do a 5K every day.
Well,
I do a 4 or 5 miles.
Back then.
No, my 2 recovery days were a mile back when I was training.
Correct.
Now I can go back to doing my 5K a day,
or longer.
Keeps the doctor away, as I say. But I'm also weight training, and I'm not doing crazy hard, long. My longest run is a 4 or 5 mile run, 1 day a week. That's it. I'm not doing intense speed workouts. I'm adding a little bit of strides, a few hills. These are things with the volume of running that I'm doing that my body is completely comfortable with. Once I got up to around 40, 45, and I knew that was going to be the breaking point, or not the breaking point, but the point where I had to really watch, could I keep this up? And my body said, no.
Right.
You
just, again, listen to your body at the end of the day. Keeping the forefront of your mind. Use this group, leverage us, right? Mm-hmm. Leverage all of us. And we want to make sure, as we all continue to age, that we do it, we get stronger as we move along. As we've talked repeatedly the last few lives here, there's a lot of craziness going on, and the forecast is potentially to get worse. So we have to keep mentally strong. We have to make sure we don't get injured, so we fall out of a training schedule completely, which is going to potentially spiral out of control in other areas, which we don't want, right? All that stuff. And if you're overtraining, that could also lead to it.
It's really late. Yeah. If you're starting to see getting the signs earlier, when you take those 2 weeks off, it doesn't mean you have to sit on the couch, do the walking, do some other cross training, but really optimize that sleep, really optimize that nutrition, really optimize those recovery things. Make sure, start tracking your food that week and see, like, oh, am I getting my vitamins? Am I getting my minerals? Am I getting enough water? Taking time off to kind of prioritize recovery is a good thing. It will always benefit you because your body needs that. And sometimes it just needs a little reset. You're not going to lose a ton of fitness or anything in 2 weeks. It will not.
You won't, and you're going to be able to bounce back fairly quickly. So
usually stronger.
And yeah, exactly, because your body is going to recover. So we are going to cut it here. We want you guys to have a great Saturday because you deserve it. You guys
remember, never lose your love for running.
Yeah.
So.
Now, please do, guys. And that's why we're so grateful for you guys in this group that you're posting pictures. We're all motivating each other to uplift everybody in the group.
You guys are all rock stars. Please make sure you're, we want to applaud you. So post your pictures. But make sure you're high-fiving yourself in the mirror because you guys are all amazing.
Right. Because as this says here, I'm strong and healthy. You are strong and healthy. Apply that to you because, quite frankly, you are. And we want to thank you guys again. Hopefully you guys are having a great weekend. We'll let you guys get after it. And we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Bye, guys.